What's going on, ladies and gents? This is T. Lawrence, and I just finished playing Halo Campaign Evolved. In fact, I've been binging on it since its official release last Tuesday and finished gathering all the gameplay footage for it. And now that I'm finished with the campaign, I've got some thoughts on it that I want to share. Now, I want to keep this video brief and concise because I am planning on making additional videos where we dive a little deeper into the details. But I do still want to get my initial thoughts out of the way before I fly out to New York this week. So, let's get to it. Let me first preface by stating that overall, I enjoyed playing this game. The graphics are beautiful, the weapons are fun to operate, especially the energy sword by the way, which I spent the most time swinging around. And of course, the environments look pristine and gorgeous, thanks to Unreal Engine 5, though the intense graphics requirement notwithstanding of course. It is certainly better than Anniversary, whose reach assets and overly bright atmosphere just didn't fit in. And despite what some people online claim, it's far from terrible. Yes, the game has its issues, but it's not down to Halo 5's level. Plus, no misleading marketing either, like hunt the lies. Yeah. So thankfully, there are no massive blunders or pitfalls that really detract from the game. Besides, as a remake of the original Halo Combat Evolved, which is already a great game in itself, it's hard to drop the bar too low, which honestly speaks more to how timeless Combat Evolved truly is. So in many ways, 90% of the work was already done for Halo Studios. That said, it wasn't spectacular either. And considering we waited 5 years for this game, along with all the marketing hype, it really didn't live up to the anticipation many had. As much as I enjoyed the actual gameplay experience, there were some issues within the narrative and cinematography aspects, especially some of the dialogue feeling a bit off, but through no fault of the actual voice actors. In fact, the voice actors clearly did their best with the material given, so it's not their fault. Rather, the issue was clearly the writing, which is obviously out of their control. But beyond that, I'm not gonna nitpick on every detail like some people have so far. I didn't expect a perfect magnum opus anyway, so I'll leave it at that for now. Also, fun fact, I actually met Jen Taylor and Steve Downes in Halo Outpost a couple years back, and Jen is an absolute sweetheart. Anywho, all the flaws outside, that's not my biggest gripe with the game. Once again, because it's a remake of Combat Evolved and not a remaster like Anniversary, I expected a lot more content that truly added to the already existing experience from Combat Evolved, not just a new coat of paint and some level of weapon redesigns. For example, the original Combat Evolved had some cut content that didn't make it to the final game due to time constraints or hardware limitations. But, over 20 years have passed by, with technology now advanced enough to dust off these lost ideas and deliver them. Or, even better, exploring more of the external lore that has since expanded the events of Alpha Halo. The book Halo the Flood, which really refines the story of Combat Evolved, would have been an excellent reference. Ultimately, there was so much missed opportunity that Campaign Evolved just glosses over. Now, you may be asking, what about the 3 prequel missions? Well, I am a little mixed on them. Even though I was most excited for the prequel missions, I have to say they were a little underwhelming story-wise. Judging from the prequel missions trailer, I expected a lot more to be revealed about the biological experiments in those tanks, aka the 343 Elites and Jackals. But other than the Prophet going on some grandiose monologue, the prequel missions didn't really touch upon those experiments that much. Still, there were good moments as well, such as the space combat mission, which really reminded me of Ace Combat, as well as the buddy cop dynamic between Sergeant Johnson and the Master Chief, which was the best part of the game. But once again, a more detailed discussion will be reserved for its own video. In conclusion, aside from the shiny new graphics, modernized gameplay, and the prequel missions of course, Campaign Evolved really does border on just another remaster, which is not what I wanted. When I think of remakes, I think of the Resident Evil remakes, which really go for a more bold approach to revisiting old games. Not only modernizing graphics, but also rehashing some dated features and adding new ones that truly expand and revitalize the original experience. But part of me can't help but feel that the devs were afraid of making these bold decisions and just went for the safe route. Because that's what ultimately the remake comes off as. Safe. So pardon my high expectations, but I guess I just expected a lot more, especially as a second remake of Combat Evolved. But once again, it's not a terrible game either, and I certainly wasn't expecting some magnum opus. And if you genuinely enjoyed Campaign Evolved, power to you. In fact, even though I'm someone who cares more about the narrative and lore aspects of Halo, the actual gameplay experience of Campaign Evolved turned out to be the saving grace for me. And I guess that's what ultimately matters for video games, being fun to play. And I did have fun playing it. Therefore, The first impression for now is that Campaign Evolved is alright, I guess. All that said, I will make additional videos on Campaign Evolved, where I go a little more into detail, from the prequel missions, the main campaign, and then a final verdict, plus thoughts about Halo's future. Until then, I will see you next time. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel. My $5 patrons are Kapitan Sladek, Kidzap, Chocoburb, and Dravenraven. My $2 patrons are Komida the Prep Cook Demon. If you would like to appear at the end credits of my videos, as well as have early access and exclusive content on Patreon, feel free to hop on over to patreon.com/LTELawrence and give a pledge. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is T. Lawrence of the Arcadia, signing out.